Welcome to the first episode of Real Sisters, Real Talk. I'm Jody.
I'm Shawna, and we love having conversations of faith, and we're so glad that you're here to join us for that today.
Yeah, and as much as we just love being faith sisters, we are actually real sisters too.
Yeah, grew up in the same house.
Yep, same house, same siblings, same bedroom.
Yeah, same mom and dad. Yeah, we actually even shared a bed when we were
did.
really little.
We did.
Yeah.
So there's been quite the connection all the way through.
Yeah, and here's the thing, just to let you know what this podcast exists for. We've been through a lot of seasons of life. Whenever we connect, we've not lived close to each other for like over 30 years.
Right.
But every time we have conversations of faith, or every time we have a conversation, it turns into being spiritually challenged and talking about, what God is doing in our lives. And it's crazy how frequently we spur each other on in our faith, and we encourage each other to take our next step in what's happening spiritually.
Right, and it's not a forced thing. It's a very natural thing. We'll be talking about something going on in the family, and then, I feel like God is teaching me this, or I read this morning when I was doing my quiet time, and the spiritual conversation comes out of that. And so often we are learning or growing in the same way, in the same area. And so it's such a gift to have those conversations, but also to have them come so naturally and to create space for that.
Yeah, to process out loud with one another spiritually and to be understood. And that's why we're doing this podcast, because we want to open up that conversation for you to be a part of that conversation as well, to kind of get behind the curtain of, what's going on, and maybe not have all the answers, but be willing to talk it out together and discover.
And to be able to hold that, even though we don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
And also to spur each other on, to hold each other accountable. There's such great gifts that come from these spiritual conversations.
And as sisters, we already know all about each other's lives and families and all the things, but you haven't had a chance to meet us yet. So Jody, why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit and tell everybody about who you are, your family, what you do, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I've been married for 33 years to Johnny, who is just a great, godly man. I'm so grateful for the husband that he is. We have two adult children. Our son, Tyler, is married to a beautiful wife, Kellen. It was such a joy to welcome in a daughter-in-law and have our family grow that way. And that was about 3.5 years ago they got married. Tyler's an electrical engineer in aerospace and the aerospace industry, and Kellen is a middle school teacher, and they are just a joy. They bought a house not far from ours, and so we're really about 1.5 miles.
That's awesome.
So we're really glad to have them close by. And then just a few months ago, they made us grandparents, and I cannot tell you what a joy that is. Our little sweet grandbaby Faye is such an incredible blessing, and it's just opened up this whole other place of love and joy inside that I just think, oh Lord, what a sweet gift. What a sweet gift she is. So we are really enjoying her.
And all the baby snuggles. She's cute as the dickens.
She is. And then our daughter Lauren is a pediatric intensive care unit nurse and just pours her heart into her job and loves these little kiddos so incredibly well and takes care of their families, and we're just so proud of who she is and the way that all of them are really walking in their faith as well. So what a blessing. I work for Emmanuel Reformed Church in Paramount, California. I am the director of adult discipleship and leadership development. I've been on staff for over 17 years, and I know, it's not crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely love what I do. I say often, I can't believe they pay me to do this, but I'm really glad that they do.
Amen to that.
But just really grateful to be able to do something that I'm so passionate about, because I get to help people lean in to God, a relationship, a true relationship with Him, and what that means. And so it's literally what we're just talking about, that constant growing in our walk with Him. So Shawna, tell us just about who you are and your fam.
And that's what you do for me too. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing, these conversations do. I'm Shawna, and I have been married for almost 30 years. We have our 30th anniversary this year. My husband, Dan, is a pastor, so we've kind of moved around quite a bit. Jody, you've been here in Southern California. We grew up in Southern California, but I left at, 23 and moved to Iowa, was there for a few years, and we planted a church in Arizona Shawna, was there for like 9.5 years. We've been in Michigan now for 12.5 years, which is crazy too.
Yeah, I want you to keep going, but can I just interject? Do we see the climate changes in those moves?
Yeah,
From
right?
Iowa
I know.
to Arizona to Michigan.
Michigan.
I mean,
And-
it's from California to begin with.
Right.
so.
Every place has got something really, really beautiful, but California
Yeah.
always feels like home. So when I fly home, it's just crazy because lately I've been flying into Long Beach, but when I'd fly into LAX, I'd get, step outside the glass doors and there's taxis and there's cars and there's smog and there's noise and there's, all this diversity of people. And I'm like, I'm home. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, this is just home for me.
It's familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Regardless of where I've lived over the years, this always feels like home to me. So it's good to be here doing this in person today and be in California. I have such a love for California.
Such a treat.
But yeah, so I've been married for almost 30 years, church planting, pastor's wife, all the things. We have 4 kids, and they're all grown up, and they're kind enough to pretend like they need me sometimes. So it makes my mama heart happy.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, like having my kids home, that makes my mama heart so happy, and they know that.
I say that to my kids all the time, too. When everybody's in the house, this mama heart's good.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I love to feed them. I don't know
Yeah.
do you love to feed
I do love
people?
to feed them.
What
yes.
is it about that?
I don't know. Maybe it's nurturing, caregiving. I don't
Yeah.
know, but it's
I like
fun.
to feed my kids. But yeah, so our oldest daughter lives in the Czech Republic. She teaches English there and is learning Czech and has a sweet little puppy that she just brought home that we love. I'm not a grandma
cute.
yet, but I have a grand dog and I'm satisfied with that for the time being.
Right.
But yeah, so Bryn lives in the Czech Republic and we miss her terribly. So when she does come home, we love having her home, but we are so happy that she's doing what she's doing there and just so proud of her. Then we have a son who lives at home. Our son lives at home, and he is transitioning right now. And his education is in ministry, and he wants to be a youth pastor. And then our daughter, number 3 child, daughter number 2, is married and lives in Australia. And she's doing ministry right now. The 2 of them are both doing ministry together. And yeah, it is a crazy thing to open up your heart to bring in, your child's spouse.
Right.
And it's beautiful. I love him.
Yes.
So it's a good thing. And then our baby is still in college. So home is still like home base for her, but she doesn't live with us. You know what I mean? We're in that kind of transient phase a little bit where we never actually know how many people are going to live at home at any given time. But we love it when they're there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
it's funny that you called Have your baby, because even though she's in college, she will always be your baby.
Yeah.
But Shawna is the baby of our family, our nuclear family. So we have 4 girls. There's 4 sisters. And I'm number 3 and Shawna's number 4, just so you kind of get some context on that too.
And for work, I am a morning show host for Moody Radio, which is a Christian talk radio. So we play about 6 songs an hour, so there's some music in there, but lots of spiritual conversations with my co-host, with authors, people who are involved in ministry, folks, who are just pursuing Jesus and want to be like him. So we get real there too and have great conversations. And it's just such I don't have a degree in broadcasting. Like, I never in a million years did I think I'd be doing radio. But here's the thing, when you are committed to walking with Jesus and you're just open to what he has for you and you're in relationship with him, he pushes open doors that you never would have thought would open up for you. So
then,
here we are.
Honestly, that's one of the conversations we'll have at some point. But that's a perfect example of when Shawna was getting kind of invited into this change in a job, and we've done it so many times with me too, to be able to process that together, that discerning process of, God, I'm not equipped to do this job, right? So, but it seems like you're inviting me into this, and I think too often we tend to think, because it's easier to say, God opens doors, he closes doors. And so if God closes the door, then I'm not supposed to do it. If he opens a door, but then we're relying on open opportunities, closed opportunities, instead of relying on relationship with God. And so for us to be able to even process that when one of us is going through something like that, to be able to process, what is God inviting us into? What is he saying? What doors is he opening here? How is he wanting us to step through in obedience, even if we don't feel equipped? It's such a gift to have somebody to process that with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, somebody who's also pursuing the heart of God and learning. And here's the thing, the word disciple, it actually means learner. And so if you're a disciple, if you're following after a follower of Jesus, we're always on this journey of learning. And I do think there kind of can exist in faith circles this idea that you are supposed to know more than what you're supposed to know.
Right.
We even think, I think sometimes as far as like giftedness, we talk about spiritual gifts a lot in faith circles, and it's like either you have the gift or you don't have the gift. And I feel like it kind of shuts down the fact that we're always meant to be growing into something. And so we should always be just a little bit uncomfortable. You know what I mean? We should, as we're pressing into what we don't yet know. And I don't know, it's kind of like if you wanted to be, I don't know, if you wanted to learn to play the guitar, nobody would expect you to just pick up an instrument that you had never held and even know how to hold it and just strum something amazing.
And make it sound beautiful.
Yeah.
Of course not.
But we do kind of carry some expectations like that when it comes to spiritual things. We don't really give ourselves permission to practice, to learn, to get it wrong, to sound awful. You know what I mean?
Right. And that, I don't think that ever ends, which we get this misconception that we get to a point and we're done in our growth journey with the Lord. And until God takes us home, that doesn't stop. And we need to remember that and continue to walk in that growing in our walk with the Lord and discovering more of who he is and how he's at work around us. What a gift.
So you're probably not going to find, if you're looking for somebody who's going to be able to tell you what you ought to do and what you ought to know, that's probably not what you're going to find here.
No. You're going to find two people who are leaning in to a relationship with God and willing to discover together what it is he's inviting us into and what truth he's revealing to us today. And we're not going to always get it right.
Yeah, we're on a journey. But the other thing too is we know that we need each other. Like I can't do this thing alone. I can't become like Jesus all on my own in some silo and you know what I mean, behind a computer screen or behind a phone or whatever. Like we really need to be in vulnerable relationship where we're opening up our heart to other people and we're talking through what we're learning. I don't think we can get there without it.
I agree. I know it's been such a gift for me. So you had mentioned you put the word out there, discipleship, and then literally what you were just talking about is discipleship. And so we've been on this journey, like of being discipled and discipling others. We both have had that as a high priority in our lives. And but I think sometimes we forget that we need to continue to be discipled.
Right. No matter how far you are in the journey.
Right.
There's more to go. And so finding, you know, I've heard it said this way. I really like this. The analogy that if you want a racehorse to run faster, you put it on a track with faster horses.
Right.
And it'll pick up its pace.
I love that.
Yeah, and that's what, you know, as far as like in our faith too, we want to be, we want to look like sheep from the front and shepherds from behind. Right. Because you're constantly, you know, there's more for us to step into, and so we want to have people in front of us who are growing and learning spiritually that we can come behind, but we also should be offering that to the people behind us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, taking people along with us on the journey.
Yeah. And we did have that modeled out in our home. We read the Bible at the dinner table. We prayed together when we would struggle with things going on in life and stuff. Our dad would sit down and pray with us. We prayed, you know, before and after meals, and that was modeled to us.
Right.
But also more than just the, you know, checking those boxes. It was modeled to have a relationship with God.
I think that I am so grateful for that. Can I be honest? There have been times when like I hear people share their testimony and it's radical. Like I didn't know God and I was so far away from him and I, you know, kind of sowed my wild oats and all of that. And then I met Jesus. I, you know, crashed into his grace and my life has radically changed. And I'm like, there have been times I felt like my testimony is really, really boring because that's not my story. Like I don't remember a time that I didn't know that God loved me.
Right.
And we got loved on that way by our parents. Like not only do we know that God loved us, but they loved us in a godly way and we got to experience that at home.
Right.
And it was not just a church thing. It wasn't just a religion thing. Like we grew up playing softball. Both.
We did.
All four of us were softball pitchers. And the softball field, the softball diamond, that community was a place where faith was, faith intersected intersected with the world.
Yep.
Yeah, and there were people that didn't know Jesus that we got to share with them who we were because of our relationship with Jesus as a family. You know what I mean?
Right.
And walk that out. So it was so much more than just, it wasn't like, well, I grew up going to church. You know, we grew up seeing Bible reading and talking, like there was such an intersection of what was happening in our lives and relationship with God. They weren't these siloed things. It wasn't just like a Sunday morning thing. It was all intertwined.
Yeah, yeah. And I wonder if that's partially because that's been modeled out to us. It's why our conversations go there so quickly. That we're able to share what we're, it's also a safe place
Right.
for us to share and know that we're not going to get judged by being honest, not trying to pretend like we have it together, but being honest with what we're experiencing, what we're leaning into, and where we're resisting what God is showing us. You know, we can speak that to each other and encourage each other to break through that.
Yeah. And that's what we want to offer to you too. It's just a place where we can be honest about what we are learning spiritually, real time, have the conversations, have you be a part of them. We'd love to hear what you're learning and what you're wrestling with right now and join the conversation with you. You can actually find us at Real Sisters Real Talk on Instagram and also jodyandshauna.com. Those are other ways that we can connect.
And honestly, if you ever have a topic that you would love for us to kind of explore together, please send that to us through either our website or through Instagram. We'd love to, you know, look at some of those topics that you're interested in as well.
Yeah, I know. You can push out space for us to learn too.
Absolutely. We love that.
Yeah.
We want to let you know and remind you always that we serve a real God and he really loves you.